G'day ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is Duckville here. I've got a PvZ for you from the Korean server. Has been a little while since we've done some casting, but has been a busy week. Of course, we had the International 3 for the Dota fans out there. Of course, we did have that massive event which went down on the weekend of the 10th. Of course, the same weekend there was WCS EU, America, and Korea finals. It was an action-packed weekend for all things esports when it comes down to the two games that I am heavily invested in. But let's get back to normal sorts of things here, normal programming, as it were. Back to some StarCraft action. Now, this game was sent in to me by our Red Protoss player here. You can see that he does have a barcode name up and running. It is on the Korean server, and he said you might like this one. And our player up at the top left-hand side here, his name is inFeZa. He's been one of the big observers in the Southeast Asia region, and was of course at IEM Shanghai doing an excellent job observing over there. And he's a really decent Protoss player and does pull out some interesting strategies from time to time, which I really like to watch. So I suspect that's why he sent that one through to me here today. Down at the bottom right hand side is our BlueZerg player. I don't actually remember what this guy's name translated to. I've totally forgotten it right now. It has something to do with, I can't remember, but anyway, he'll be our BlueZerg here just because I completely have lost track of all my Korean that I've learnt over the years of watching Brood War and then StarCraft 2. But anyway, we've got a forge starting out here from inFeZa, of course, Belshire Vestige, a bit of a map where some interesting things can occur. Of course, down at the natural, you get some people will like to throw out the old cannon rush down here. You can get, a pylon or two, and then a cannon down at the back. Some people do it. There are a couple of various different ways. Like some people will throw out the pylons just over here and block off the side so that there's a little bit more room to work with, but I guess it sort of depends how you want to go about it. But as we can see, inFeZa is going to scout through. You can see that his opponent does have the spawning pool going up. Gas is also on the way, along with that first hatchery down on the low ground at the naturals. So nothing too fishy coming out of either of these players. Of course, as you can see, the one thing which we do see our Zerg player doing is tracking down that probe. Of course, when you are on this map, as we mentioned, it's a very, very common map to see the cannon rush. So I do like the decision here from our Zerg player to chase after this probe. Wants to make sure there's no pesky pylons or cannons going down anywhere. But he can see now back at home the Nexus is up, the gateway there as well, a cannon also on the way. So nothing fishy is going to be coming out of inFeZa here today. I was about to call him Infesta. But inFeZa is just going to be proceeding along a normal sort of path, double gas inside the main. So as I mentioned, it has been a really busy week, so apologies for not too many cards going up. We did have a couple. You can check out the Ruined game, Ruin versus Pulse, I believe it was, where we had a really interesting Mech Terran versus Zerg game, and that one was really a lot of fun, so make sure you go and check that one out if you can. Coming up this week, of course, there are quite a few replays to be casted. I've got a few that have been sent in from a couple of high-level people, and other than that, there will be some live casting this coming Sunday week. I believe it's the 18th of August is going to be a day where I'm going to be bringing out some live casting again. I am also, my internet's also capped, of course. One of the unfortunate parts about Australian internet is sometimes we have limits on the data that can go up and down, and unfortunately mine has nearly reached the limit just because I've been doing so much stream watching WCS and TI3 and all these kinds of things. So it has been a very hectic week for my internet. So we're getting close to that limit, which is why I haven't really been streaming as much either. So just bear with me, guys, but we'll get to the next month and it will be all hunky-dory again. But anyway, let's talk about the game. We do have a weird sort of wall off here from inFeZa. I'm not sure if it was just a little bit unsure about the placement or if this is a normal sort of thing, but I believe there is a little bit of a hole, yeah, just through there. So that's one thing which we'll keep an eye on. The one photon cannon here to protect, it does have a little bit of a space where some units can get in and peck away at that, but of course, you rarely ever see Lings running forwards and killing cannons. It's not something you see every day, so for the moment, it looks as if inFeZa is going to be picking up +1 to weapons. We do have the 3rd and 4th gas over here at the natural expansion, and he hasn't really revealed his hand just yet. We can see with the +1 weapons that may denote that we are going to see some kind of gateway push at some kind of timing. You can see people will push out with a little bit old school sort of Sentry Immortal kind of stuff, but just from, there's just so much gas coming in, and not too much of it has been invested yet. We're starting to really bank up here for inFeZa, so I am very curious as to what he is up to. He is going to come across and throw down what looks to be a third base. Yes, it is going to be the Nexus down there. Meanwhile, for his opponent, over here, our BlueZerg is just getting his drone count up as you normally would. We can see down the bottom here, 36 drones out in total, picking up a third hatchery across to the left-hand side of the map there. Has control of the Zelnaga watchtowers and can see what is going on. This Overlord over here is a very important one. This guy is probably going to head in within the next sort of maybe 10 to 20 seconds, I'd say. Probably what he wants to see is what's going on inside the main. What buildings have been placed down around these sorts of areas here, and what am I going to be facing? So that's what we're going to expect from our Zerg play very soon. However, back at home, Roachborn on the way to defend against any early attacks. Aspire is also on the way. Relatively quick Spire here, considering that his third base has only just gotten started. So our Zerg player does look to want to go towards the Mutalisk tech. Meanwhile, his opponent has barely even scouted. This is the first scout, apart from that initial scout that is coming along here from inFeZa. Of course, his Robo, there is no Robo, so he hasn't been able to get an observer across. Has no real idea of what's going on. Of course, the Spire here for the BlueZerg is just now about to kick in. So this is actually a very interesting play here from inFeZa. Basically, blind 3 Stargates coming out from our Protoss player, and he's going to be, it's weird, he's basically blind counted exactly what the Zerg is going to be transitioning into. We do see a hallucinated Phoenix on the way. This guy is going to scout through and find out that there is a Spire on the way, a couple of Evo chambers also being built up, and everything else looks relatively standard. So we will see the 4th extractor finally goes up. I was thinking this could be a little bit interesting to see how many mutas our Zerg play can get out, considering that the Spire is now finished. We've got 8 mutas on the way. They're going to be kicking in very soon, but the gas is all but gone now, and without that 4th extractor, it makes it very hard for himself to get up a couple more upgrades. So inFeZa will have time to get some Phoenix out. Of course, his triple Stargate going to be continuously pumping out those Phoenix, which will bring along a lot of pain to those mutas up in the sky. Cannons going down inside the main mineral line, or just one cannon there. We do have one at the third base, of course, which will be able to help out with some defense there, but he is going to have a lot of Phoenix out. There is going to be at least 9 Phoenix by the time these mutas are able to make their way across the map and finally look to try and get some damage done. But inFeZa, he's going to be well prepared. The 6 Phoenix already out. Couple more about to pop up as well. Our Zerg player is building up a few roaches, just needs some units on the ground to make sure that he does have some defense here. Hydralisk Den also on the way, and he's going to now scout through and try and see what he can find, but all he'll see is a cannon and a lot of Phoenix right now. As you can see, the Phoenix being absolutely predators up in the sky there. You can see how they just decimate those mutas and they all go down. That was a pretty quick, a pretty short life for all of those mutas here. So inFeZa is now going to just boost up the Phoenix count to an incredible amount. We're now going up to around about, what is that, like 12 or something Phoenix up in the air. And they're going to come across and get some really good harassment done. A Spore Crawler, in fact, a few Spore Crawlers inside the mineral line here are going to help out with the defense against these Phoenix. But the thing is that when you have Phoenix in this kind of number, they can just run rampant inside a mineral line across, even when they're a Hydralisk to defend. Of course, their damage is actually bonus against light units, and Hydralisks are a kind of light unit. So that means that inFeZa is actually going to have a lot of map control for the time being. I'd like to see him pick off the Zerglings that are sitting here at the Zelnaga watchtowers, and then he can really control the map quite a lot. Maybe snipe out a couple of these Overlords that are across to the side here. Interestingly, our Zerg player hasn't actually sent up what you would normally see an Overlord just up in that position here. So inFeZa is just scouting around a bit to try and find out where they are. Cannons are going down inside the mineral line, and now we have some more Phoenix still continuing to come out, along with the Fleet Bacon down the back. So we're going to have possibly the onion crystals, lots of food going on right now because I haven't had breakfast and I'm really hungry, but bacon and onions, that's not bad. Put that in a sandwich, I'm happy with that. But the Phoenix count still continuing to rise here for inFeZa, up to 13, and we'll probably see a little bit of a switch here. I'd assume that he's going to maybe just go straight into very heavy air tech right now. We've got +1 to air weapons now being researched, and he's got a lot of sentries on the ground to block out any attacks, and a lot of cannons there as well. So this is This is actually something which inFeZa did play around with back in Wings of Liberty. You may remember, if you have a look through the channel, there is a game there where he went up to the old very fast 3-base mothership with carriers. And I would not be surprised if that's what's going to come out here from inFeZa. And indeed it is, as our BlueZerg attacks into the 3rd base. He's probably going to be able to kill off a couple of these units here, but not really the Nexus itself, which is the important part. inFeZa lifting up everything. Do you lift? And he says yes, and annihilating all of those Hydras. The Roach is forced to back off as well. 2 lone survivors are going to back up for now, as we can see, the carriers will start to begin. And we've even got more Stargates on the way. inFeZa comfortable on 3 bases. We've got a lot of cannon protection here at the natural, at the 3rd as well. And now with the fleet beacon researching the graviton catapult, these carriers are going to be very, very annoying up in the sky for our Zerg players. So we'll see how inFeZa is going to maneuver this, because of course his opponent is going to be able to pick up a 4th and a 5th base here, but the Phoenix up in the sky, as long as they're continually roaming around, being very active units as you always want them to be, they should be able to really slow down some of this economy. So if you're the Zerg player right here, he doesn't actually know that there are carriers coming out. All that he knows is that there are a lot of Phoenix to deal with. So he's just going to go into the standard. Lots of Hydras. We're going to pick up a lot of Hydras. We've got 2-2 just about to come out on their upgrades. Groove Spines and Roaches also on the way, along with an Infestation Pit. And this should have come up a lot earlier. When you're facing up against a Protoss opponent who has a lot of Phoenix, Fungal Growth is really, really powerful at locking down the Phoenix. Of course, they are very, very fast units. You want to be able to lock them down so that the Hydras can catch up, so that they don't get lifted and destroyed by the Phoenix. So that is one thing which I would have liked to have seen a little bit earlier here from our Zerg player, but he's going to be catching up a little bit right now, with the Passage and Glands probably going to start up in just a second here. We can see the upgrades are already looking very good for our Zerg player, but, you know, does he have the power to deal with all these the carriers that are going to be coming out from inFeZa? Interestingly, inFeZa with his 5 Stargates does not actually have enough economy to produce all of those carriers, but he is going to come across here. 4 carriers about to pop out. The Phoenix coming down the backside of this Zerg clump right here, and that actually may have revealed that the 4th base is here. So cannons are not going to complete in time. Roaches and Hydras going to come along. It looks as if the Nexus may be forced down, or perhaps maybe not. The more units now coming along. Carriers have finally been revealed. inFeZa, does he have enough to protect this base? It looks as if the cannon's there. A few warp-ins, some Phoenix lifting up some of the units as well, and more carriers arriving in this battle will be able to force the Zerg back, and that gives inFeZa time to set up his 4-base economy. And now this is a point where you need to consider that his opponent. Where is the 4th? Where are all these drones here? We can see that he's down at 65 drones. That is barely anything at this stage of the game. Some of the Phoenix will go down, as we can see, though, as they do try and retreat. But the carrier numbers are getting very, very high. They're slowly dropping out some of their interceptors to try and deal with those Hydralisks down on the ground. But inFeZa has been able to get some upgrades out. As we can see, these carriers have 111 on their upgrades. It's like it's a new version of the Terran 111, except it's carriers with upgrades. That's what's coming out from inFeZa here today. So he is in a very strong position right now, as you know, that's the thing about carriers is that they're relatively silly in a way to go for, just because of the fact that they can be you know, they can be locked down by fungal growth. inFeZa's interceptors can be locked down by fungal growth as well, and you know, even things like neuroparasite can be extremely tough to deal with. But the one big thing about the carriers is they can be targeted down by corruptors very, very quickly. Even some Hydras, if they have if there's a large number of them on the ground and a lot of maneuverability thanks to some of the creep spread, then they too can also do really good work against carriers. But once you get the carriers to this critical mass, once it's normally around about sort of 9 carriers is the number that you want to be setting up shop with and looking pretty good with, and that is what inFeZa is now up to. He's up to 9. We do have a Templar Archives down the back, just wants to make sure everything is safe, to make sure that he has something to fall back on if the carriers don't really work too well. Charge coming out for the Zealots on the ground. The probe count sitting up at 69, so his economy is in a very good position. Lots of gas coming in. We can see now that that the Zerg player is actually starting to bring out some corruptors right now. These guys are very, very strong. Of course, their corruption skill is just amazing when it comes to adding on some extra damage when you are dealing with a Protoss opponent who has gone for Skytoss. So I would love to see maybe even some Vipers, perhaps, if he could abduct a couple of the carriers, maybe pull them out of position to try and take advantage of the fact that they're actually pretty slow units. We can see that they're relatively slow. They've got about the move speed of, I believe it's about the same as a Zealot, or just a bit slower than a Zealot. So it looks as if inFeZa is now going to move across. He wants to deny his opponent quite a lot of economy here. Picking up that the fifth hatchery, I should say. Taking that down quick smart. Luckily, there was basically nothing here to actually deal with that. But inFeZa is also going to be attacking on the left-hand side. Zealots charging their way across. They've got their 1-1-1 upgrades themselves. Looking pretty good. The hatchery, it looks as if that should survive for the moment, though, as the Hydras and a few Roaches do come across. So, we can see inFeZa is, he's got a very strong army. What we've got here is a massive composition of high DPS carriers. I believe still have the highest DPS in the game coming out of their interceptors. You know, 2 attacks of 6 damage, lots of interceptors, and it is just a very powerful thing to comprehend. You've also got Zealots on the ground who also have a very strong damage output there, and they're very quick. They can get in the face of these Hydras, maybe soak up some of the damage, and then be able to, you know, keep the carriers alive. And if as long as inFeZa can keep the carrier count up, then he's in a very strong position, because as we said, critical mass, a lot of carriers, high DPS, they are very, very hard to stop. So we'll see what our BlueZerg is going to get up to here. There are certainly a lot of Hydras. They've got 3-3 on their upgrades. The Corruptors have +1 on their attack. And as you can see, Carrier's going to move forwards, just trying to gain a bit of a good position here. But the Corruptors come across from the sides. The Hydras have been chewing through all of those, all of the Zealots on the ground. And it looks as if, wow, the Corruptors have just been tearing apart those carriers. inFeZa trying to maneuver the carriers back, but the creep is providing those Hydras with a little bit too much power and mobility on the ground, chasing after the carriers. Destroys all but 3. I think these 3 may get away. In fact, no, he's trying to target them down. Will he be able to get at least one of them? Yes, he does. So our BlueZerg player has now put himself in a very strong position. 5 more carriers on the way for inFeZa. A lot of cannons here set up to defend this position. High Templar, they do have Storm, but the Archons are going to go down quick smart here, just with barely any ground upgrades on these guys. The 1-1-1 is going to provide them with a little bit of tankiness, but I mean, there are just so many Hydras. They've got 3-3 and they just rip apart everything. Somehow some carriers have made it into the wrong part of town. Get out of here, say the Hydras. And one carrier does go down. Another one moving into, well, alright, not the best position. I thought he was going to continue to run that one away, but unfortunately for inFeZa, there is a lot on the ground that is now coming towards him. Roaches, Hydras, is this the end of our attempted, very brave Sky Toss player? Hydras now going to push in. The Cybernetics Core exposed, the Forge, all these kinds of things are going to go down extremely quickly to the high damage output army of these Hydras and the Roaches. And inFeZa, he is in big trouble right now. Cybercore goes down. That is the second Cybercore, and that is around about it. inFeZa trying to get out some carriers here, trying to chrono boost them as quickly as possible, but they do go down. 1, 2, 3 are going to go down. More carriers coming out right now. Our Zerg player, keep in mind, his economy isn't actually what it wants, well, what it should be at this point, but he has been able to amass a very dangerous army, and inFeZa has been able to bring in some Templar. They do have Storms. Can he bring this fight back? He looks like, yes, with some beautiful Storms, he is able to tear apart the Hydras, and that army has been absolutely decimated here. But the Zerg player now has a lot of reinforcements on the way. 18 Hydras now coming through. The 4th base of inFeZa still alive, and more units now starting to pump out. Some Immortals are being built inside that Robo, but the Stargates are gone. The Fleet Bacon is next on the menu here for all of these Zerg units, and perhaps inFeZa may be able to salvage something here, because he does have a ridiculous bank right now. 2,500 minerals and gas is up and running for the Protoss player here from Australia. As we can see, he's going to set up a little bit more of a wall down here at the 4th base, but is he going to be able to survive? Some Zealots have made their way across to the attempted 5th base of the Zerg player. It looks as if this hatchery should go down. Keep in mind, the hatchery across to the left-hand side is very low on health, but there is now a lot of static defense here to protect that. The carriers, however, are being slowly sniped down, and that was one of the last few carriers that is left over right now. And the Roaches going to barrel their way through the defense here at the 4th base. Looks like that hatchery did go down. drones being torn apart here, and if inFeZa can keep his opponent on the back foot when it comes to economy, then he may be able to salvage this. We've still got, as we said, a very large bank here for inFeZa. We've got the third base is starting to get a little bit low. He does have a lot of tech availability right now, though, so if he can perhaps bring out some of these powerful units, we do have a single carrier still left over, a couple of Immortals, an Archon, quite a lot of Templar also available, and even a few Phoenix could be able to help out in lifting up some of the Hydras and slowing down the damage that is coming through from the Zerg players. So we'll see. As inFeZa whoops in, a few more Templar. He's under siege though here at the fourth base. It is being slowly torn apart. The cannons at the front door have been all but shredded away by those Hydras and the Roaches. But back at home, our Zerg player, no third, no main, his third, just about done. Or no natural, sorry, and no, the third base is just about done as well. So his own economy is starting to look a little bit thin, but he does have this fourth base, which is looking quite handsome. The fifth base also on the way, but this is very dangerously close to the Protoss's main sort of base that we have now here across to the fourth side of the map. So we do have some more DTs. Well, Dark Shrine Tech is about to come through. Cybernetics Core also on the way. inFeZa caught out a little bit across just above on the high ground of his base here. We can see that his units are forced to pull back, but some ridiculous storms coming through from inFeZa. That is the worst part of town to walk into here if you're a Zerg. That is just absolute anarchy down on the ground there. We can see Zerg, Hydralisk, and Roach bodies littering the ground right now. And inFeZa has bought himself some more time. But is it enough? Because he has been slowly able to get rid of the hatchery across to the left-hand side of the map. But there is a second one here which is helping out with the production. He's going to come across to the fifth base of the Zerg and see if he can get rid of this one as well. Evacuating those drones as quickly as possible. Archon, Zealots, and Immortal. A single Immortal is here to help out. The Phoenix, don't know what they're up to, but they're going to scout around and try and find out what's happening around the map. But inFeZa is natural, as we just see now, has been fully mined out. The third base is starting to get low as well. Dark Shrine about to come into effect right now. And I think this is something which may have been able to throw that out there a little bit earlier, just to try and get some various harassment going on. As you can see, the probe's going to come across and find out that his opponent has actually set up shop here. And this is going to be quite annoying to deal with. These probes are going to come across, maybe lay down, wanting to look to lay down a Nexus there. But as you can see, another main battle raging outside the fourth base. More Templar throwing out storms there. Very nicely done by inFeZa. Can he get a couple more? That would be very nice if he can just delay his opponent a little bit further. He may be able to find a way to harass his economy yet again. As we see, the Immortal count starting to rise yet again. He needs those to deal with the Roaches on the ground. But one thing which I can confidently point out here is, where is the Hive Tech? At this point, you know, our Zerg has been struggling for minerals. He has invested so many minerals in the Roaches and the Hydras here, but hasn't been able to bring out the big guns. Where are the Ultras? Where are the things like Vipers and even Broodlords and Infestors coming out at this point here, which are really, really needed. At this late stage of a game, you really do need to rely on energy-based units, such as the Templar, such as the Vipers and Infestors. All these kinds of things are extremely important here at the late game, because it means you can save on your economy. You can save up some of the minerals and the gas that you have been picking up. And inFeZa throws down the storms. Really nicely done. He almost lost a couple of Templar, but quickly switches them into Archons. And as you can see, inFeZa has been able to salvage some of this. He's taken out the hatchery up at the top left-hand side of the map. These Roaches slowly burrowing their way down and are trying to escape as quickly as they can. But Archons, Stalkers, Immortals are all here and available for inFeZa. Is he going to be able to salvage this one? It looks as if he could, because there are 10 billion Zealots across here on the left-hand side of the map. Going to be running through, going to try and slice down some of those spine crawlers here. They should be able to bust through, and this is a big point here for our Zerg players. We can see he has to make a choice. Do I bring my units across from the main side of the map, where I should be able to save this economy, or do I have to do I need to keep them alive on the right hand side of the map? But inFeZa says, I don't care what you do, I'm going straight for the hatchery here. Takes one hatchery down, gets a queen as well. It looks like he might be able to slice her apart. In fact, no, she survives with very minimal health. But as we said, this opens up a massive amount of space on the right hand side of the map. Roaches doing what they can, but storms Stalkers, Immortals, and Archons. So powerful, even with very minimal upgrades right now. inFeZa has been able to rock his opponent's socks here with the storms coming in. The Observer was able to scout out those units on the ground here, and the Roaches have been annihilated. More storms being thrown out here, and that is it. Not even a GG. I think our Zerg player is a little bit upset at the state of this game, but inFeZa has been able to save the day. And, you know, we were talking about it just a moment before, relying on the high-powered units such as the Archons, the Immortals, and these kinds of things, but particularly the Templar. Throwing out the Templar with their storms, they're very efficient units. You throw out a storm, you can then do it again a little bit later. The only resource that you have in that case is time. Just need to buy yourself a little bit of time, and that's one thing which our Zerg player did not have at all. No energy-based units, no Infestors, no Vipers, and of course no Broodlords or Ultras at the high-level tech. So that was a really interesting game there. Good job for inFeZa to be able to stick that one out and say, you know what, I'm going to try and be as efficient as possible, and with that he's able to take the game with a really nice victory. Maneuver from here. Does he know that Mario is a little bit of a mech player, and B, how is he going to deal with it once he does find that out? But it is interesting to see how Mario is expanding. Very aggressive expansions here, looking to move through the middle section.